So I've taken somewhat planned yet drastic action to get me writing again. Hello lovely people, so I am back. And it's been a couple of weeks and I'm getting myself organised and yeah, I've taken drastic steps. So at the beginning of the summer, I applied to take my master's. I applied to go and do my master's degree. Honestly, with no intention of actually doing it. It's kind of been something that I've wanted to do for years and years and years, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to apply and get myself into the groove, if you like, of filling out the application form and sort of putting together a small portfolio and, you know, of work I've already written, but it at least got me in the editorial seat, as it were. And as the summer kind of carried on and I got through and I ummed and ahed and I was and I wasn't, and I had my interview and I got a place, and I just, honestly, I didn't think I was going to do it. But I am. Last week was week one, so it was all sign-ups and emails and sign-ons and student cards and all that kind of thing. And this week is week two. And so I am going to share a little bit about my master's journey as we go. So I wasn't going to take my master's. I was going to apply for it and just kind of see how I feel. And then as the kind of the day approached, I just felt more and more and more of an urge to do it. And the fear is real, don't get me wrong, because I haven't written virtually anything in nearly 4 years. So yeah, I mean, no joke when I say the fear is real, it's real. But I have been kind of faffing about in my office in my little study with my little desk, and I've kind of got things organised, and I've put things where they're supposed to be and laid them out in a pleasing fashion and tried to just clear the clutter that sort of a couple of years of working from home has kind of brought with it. And what used to be my creative space became my workspace, somewhere I had to take Zoom calls, somewhere I had to take Teams calls, and that's no longer the case anymore. We're all, well, I know everybody's not, but for me personally, we're all back. And so my space is kind of mine again. So I've cleared down. One of the things that works for me is clear space. All the time I can procrastinate by fiddling with books and moving things around on shelves, then I'm definitely not going to get any writing, any creating, anything done at all. And then you couple that in with my TikTok addiction and how long I can actually spend scrolling on my phone. So I cleared the clutter. I got myself a real little cheapie from Amazon, but I got myself a new little tablecloth. I don't really want to know what you call it, just a table runner to go over my desk, so that it was just a bit more relaxed as opposed to the wipe clean surface that I had when I was working from home. I've reorganised my shelves so that kind of books are in a proper order. One, not to distract me, but two, to also kind of feel a bit inspirational, so that when I turn around and look, this shelf, I've filled it with books that I love. So I kind of feel that urge to put pen to paper or, fingers to keyboard. I'm taking steps. And one of those steps was to kind of go along last week and sign up and sit in a classroom, which was new, with 20 to 24, I think, other people, all 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, kind of all looking a bit scared at each other, wondering what on earth we were doing. So I suppose let's get some facts out. I am doing my master's part-time, so, and I'm doing it at a university. I'm not doing it on OU, Open University. I'm doing it in real life. I'm doing it at Chichester University for anybody that's interested. I am doing it part-time, and that means that I have 3 hours contact, so class time once a week on a Monday evening from 5 to 7:30, 8-ish, term time only. So I can totally handle that in amongst my work commitments, she says, at this point. I'm anticipating being able to handle it. We'll see. I'm doing it, as I said, part-time, which means I'll do it over 2 years. You can do it over 1 year, which is Mondays and Wednesdays, again in the evening. So for anybody that was wondering about it, the way that my university works, it's evening time, and you can kind of, blend it together, work-life balance and all that jazz. The handbook for the Masters has come out, the reading list for the Masters has come out. It's not as horrendous, the reading list, as I was potentially thinking it was going to be. Not as in I wouldn't enjoy any of it, but as horrendous as in the volume. I wasn't sure how much reading a Masters was going to throw at me. For anybody that's interested, maybe I'll put that into a video further on down the line if you want to know more about a Masters. Nuts and bolts, I'm doing it with Student Finance England loans, and I've got my normal job as well, so and my university's close to where I live, so I don't need accommodation or anything like that. And the Student Finance England loan for a Masters more than covers the cost of the fees, for anyone that wants to know. Obviously, you don't have to take the fees, you can pay for it yourself. I suppose the first thing I should say is I said last week that I was going to go through my notebooks and journals and scraps of paper and the notes on my phone and organise myself. And I have surprised myself. I didn't expect to follow my own advice, because I'm not very good at that. But I did. I've been through everything. I've kind of collated things and got things in order, as order as it needs to be anyway. So I've got a pile of fiction, mostly shorts, a pile of truly awful poetry, but all jokes aside, very, very cathartic poetry. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever be a poetry writer, but it definitely does have a healing process, and it was really, I don't know, warming reading back through, some of the bits that I'd written. And I'm not one of those people that reads everything I write and looks at it and thinks, oh, that's trash. I am slightly more able to distance myself than that, and especially I'm able to slightly distance myself from that instantly once I've read it, whether I can look at it and think, this is going to need a lot of editorial and it's going to need a lot of work. Or I can look at it and think, you're going to need to shelve that and come back to it. You're not in a place to be objective. Some of the work I can look at and think, okay, this isn't even first draft, it's 0 draft, but it could become something else with a rewrite later down the line. So I'm not a massive, beater of myself and what I create. When it comes to poetry, I don't read it or look at it with any kind of judgment, because that is something that I do just for joy, just for me. So that in itself, I suppose, is the kind of the nice fallout of doing something like that, where when I read back over the poetry, it's coming from a time in my life. It's a bit like a journal entry. It's like a journal entry, so there's that. So yeah, so I've kind of sorted through and organised everything. And I did have bits and pieces in my notes and on the backs of envelopes that I've just stuffed them all in a little pocket for now, a little stationery pocket for now. And I'm going to come back to those. I'm going to shelve them, I think, until Christmas, in case I get kind of desperate for like a prompt to get going. For the first week of lessons last week, we didn't have any kind of real pre-reading to do. There was a sort of set of vacation tasks that went out, but they were not creative as such. It was really interesting. The vacation task that they set for us before we started is to think about writing, why we want to write, why we do write, and where we think our writing is taking us, and the hard questions that you need an answer to. For anyone looking to get going, I would definitely recommend sitting down, and I'll list the questions in the comments underneath. The sort of three, I found them quite hard, 3 hard questions about, who, why and what as a writer, not about our fiction, about ourselves. That was an interesting hour and a half I spent sort of staring at the blank page, trying to get an answer as to why. Interesting stuff. But I'll post it underneath anyway. We all got together in class, and after it's quite lengthy getting sort of signed on and all your paperwork and learning where you're going and all that kind of jazz. So by the time we all got into class, we'd been doing our sign-ons for an hour and a half and everyone was a bit flat. So the tutors did kick off with a sort of a small lecture, and obviously one of those wonderful where you all sit in a circle and everybody introduces themselves and says something about themselves, which is just horrendous, isn't it? Nobody. Well, it's certainly not for me anyway. Then we had a creative task, and it has been, it's been years. I did my degree back in 2010. So it has been years since I have sat in a sort of degree style learning environment with a blank page, a pencil, pen, and a lecturer kind of talking at the front of the class with expecting a creative output. I kind of expected to freeze, I won't lie. I was more than pleasantly surprised when I didn't. And there was a writing prompt, sort of 7-step writing prompt. And I won't lie, I literally, veered off the trail and headed into the woods straight away in my brain. I think I got through the first 2 steps as the lecturer was kind of talking, try this, do that, do this, do that. And it just hit. The words just started to come, the energy of everybody in a classroom together, I don't even think it was the classroom. I just think it was the energy of the expectation of a room full of other writers all wanting to write. And it was bloody amazing. I have really no words. The pen hasn't moved my writing pencil when I'm doing longhand, which isn't very often, but the pencil has not raced across the page, flown across the lines like that for years. And do I think it's going anywhere? No, I'm going to say no, cautiously. I also, at this stage, I don't know. It was nice in a way that I totally hadn't thought about, to just put pencil to the page with no expectation of that I was supposed to be working, that I was, plotting a novel or a particular piece of short fiction, or that I had to do something at the end with it. That just freedom to create was fantastic. And I'm going to take my life in my hands. When I vlog about my masters and I've written something just creative free each week, I'm going to blog it. And I can't believe I'm saying this, because the urge to go back and edit, but I'm gonna bite the bullet, and when I vlog about, particularly to do with this, I'm gonna put the short fiction out there. So, one, be nice if you decide to go and read it. Feel free to have constructive criticism, but for people who are trying to get first drafts down on the page, I'm going to put a blog together and put up the part of the writing prompt or the creative exercise that got me going. I won't go through the whole thing. I will literally just start what got me going. And yeah, and then I'm going to put I'm sure it'll only be 250, 500 words up underneath. Because I think that's holding me accountable for what I want to create. And I'm kind of going to make a pact with myself that I'm not going to edit it. That I'm not. I'm just going to get it out and let it go. Whew. So that's the current plan. That's the current situation. That's the current what's happening. If you've got any kind of questions or anything, leave the comments down below and I'll do my best to answer. But yes, this week's writing update is I've taken planned drastic action and I'm forcing myself back to the desk. And I suppose the first update is week 1. It worked. Week 2 starts in about, clock's up there, week 2 starts in about 2.5 hours. I'll let you know if week 2 works. Take care, writerly people. And don't forget to breathe. I'll see you all later.